Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Okay. Okay. Here we go.
It's time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Tonight, let us make them remember we are not afraid!
No fear, no fear, no fear. Here on Declare Your Independence from me, Ernest Hancock, here in Phoenix, Arizona. I just got back from the first phase, the first leg of Occupy Phoenix. Now, it's not over. What happened was the permit, the agreement, I guess, the people had with the city of Phoenix and the police, the popo, was that they would be down at the city hall until 6 o'clock, and then they would leave. Now, the deal was at 5 o'clock, they would start being escorted by gazillions of police, and they would take them to Hance Park, which is about, I don't know, a mile and a half, 2 miles away. So they did that. Now, there's a lot of, I'll get into it later. We got a short time with Nick, the man down there. Nick and Drew are down there right now at the new park. I left to come here to get everything set up and put the pictures in. I'll show you what happened, but we think they're being set up kind of like this Brooklyn Bridge thing. Yeah, go over here and get so we can arrest you, okay? So this is what I'm concerned about. Nick's going to paint the picture for us. Now, after I left, you guys, I don't know what, they had some drinks, whatever, and you wound up at the other park. Tell me what's going on.
Well, there's probably 200 to 300 people here, and maybe 75 to 100 cops. The park that we're in is on top of the I-10 interstate, so it's kind of like this big bridge, and it's got fences on, at least 3 of the sides. I don't got a very good feeling about it here. There are some people that have already set up tents. The General Assembly is going on. They're chanting back and forth about what they're going to do. Some people put on the table to go back to the other park. Another person put on the table to go to the state capitol, where the 1070 people were able to camp out there for, I don't know how long they were there, a couple months at least.
The city of Phoenix.
Some guy just got on here and said that he talked to the officer in charge, whoever that is, I don't know. He said that they are under orders to shut the bathrooms down at 10:30. At 11 o'clock, if there's people here, they're going to get arrested.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. I'm really concerned that they kind of got, bamboozled into this. This is the agreement that they made. We'll talk about it a little bit. I got you for a limited time.
But I got a little bit of insight or, more story on the agreement.
Yeah.
Apparently the permit that was obtained for Chavez Park was this morning from 8 until noon. That's who had the permit, or the permit was from 8 to noon this morning, and it was MoveOn.org that got that permit. And the people that I talked to about that said that, that was kind of a jerk move that they did that. So it didn't have anything to do with the occupation or the people that planned the occupation. That was MoveOn.org's deal.
Yeah, that seems they're too entwined. There's like a deal being done. I got my opinion on it. I know you're tight on time. I'd love to talk to you about it more. Maybe this next week we can do that. But go ahead and tell me, the people, are they starting to feel like they're corralled there that the end is nigh?
Some people are saying that they feel safer here. I mean, this is a nice park. It's all grass. It'd be a perfect place to do this, except for the fact that you can't be seen because we're above the interstate. There's residential and churches around us. There's, maybe they're occupying this park, but to what ends?
Yeah, allowed to, wound up in jail. That's what, so 100 officers, I mean, where are they amongst the crowd or they just run the perimeter?
They brought out these giant spotlights, like these, I guess, diesel generated. They got these 4 lights on each station, and they've got 2 of them. And then they've got cop cars lined up and down Central Avenue, probably, I don't know, a few dozen cop cars. And we saw a paddy wagon when we pulled in. There's a lot more people here than they could fit in the cop cars, but they arrested 700 people on the Brooklyn Bridge, and I think if people stay here, they're going to arrest 300 people on the I-10 bridge.
So are there people there willing to be arrested? Is this part of their plan?
There are people here willing to be arrested. They just did a consensus around the General Assembly saying that not everybody is arrestable. Like there's some transgendered people down here that don't feel safe in jail. I'm not transgendered and I don't want to go to jail either, so I don't know what that means. But, there's quite a few people in wheelchairs, and they suggested that the people in wheelchairs or with mobility issues go home and rejoin tomorrow.
Okay, so are they going to just wind up there again tomorrow? I mean, can they just keep coming back, or they just don't want them there overnight? Or what are they trying to do to these people?
I don't know yet. They're still talking about if we're staying or going. They haven't covered. I don't know if you're familiar with how they do this, but it's all consensus. And somebody gets in the middle of this big circle of several hundred people and says a few words, and then everybody in the circle repeats them back. So it takes forever, and it's hard to understand what's going on, because anytime somebody says something, and if somebody in the crowd disagrees with it, then they're allowed to speak. And if they say something, so it's just like, a tree of speaking, and I don't really know what's going on.
Do they?
I don't think so. They were just complaining about how they've lost all cohesion, and people are standing up and milling about. I'm not quite sure. Like I said, I don't know what's going on.
Well, yeah, I've seen this technique on, a lot of people have seen it on the news and television. They'll say, oh, I am here, and everybody goes, I am here to speak to you, to speak to me, or something. I mean, I'm not really sure what the purpose of that is, but it didn't seem like it communicated very well. But they're looking for consensus because they think collectively. I mean, that's what they want. They want this to be, this blob thing does what somebody at the top last person said something. And I talked to...
Yeah, there is that collective thing going on here, but, to be honest, they're doing it with consensus. So if people are going to vote on something and it's 100% unanimous, then is that really a collective? I'm not sure.
No, I think that's that's better than not, getting everybody's consent. It's just that I'm really concerned of people that understand what they're consenting to. Do they really know what these officers are prepping for? I do. I'll talk about it here a little bit. I talk to these guys, and I can see what's coming, and I don't think they really realize what's going to happen here. It's Sarah and Kyle. It's OccupyPhoenix.net, and they have a Facebook page, too, for Occupy Phoenix. And they're really nice people. I talk to them. They think that they're better off by cooperating and yes, sir, and doing exactly what the police want. And they don't realize, just like what happened in New York, they're all sweet and nice, and yeah, just step right along here. No need to crowd the sidewalk. Get on the bridge. Yeah, boom, you're all corralled and arrested. And it's like operating procedure, man. I mean, this is what they're doing to I can see it happen. So what are you guys going to do? You going to stay there till the end and get some videotape, or you guys going to head out? What?
I'm not sure. If they're going to go back downtown where there's going to be some sort of something to videotape here within the next hour, then I'm going to go down there and try and get that. But we're 4.5 hours away from them kettling this park down. I don't want to be arrested anyhow, but I'm not going to stick around for that, I don't think.
Well, what do you think the consensus is leaning going back to Cesar Chavez Park, which is downtown Phoenix, right across the street from Phoenix City Hall, and then the other option is to go down the road, maybe a mile down the road to the state capitol building, which is just straight down the same road, Washington there, and it dead ends into the state capitol building where they have Wesley Bullen Plaza, which is like a park there, where like you were talking about the immigrant issue that was up, SB 1070 being debated and everything, and they had a lot of minority groups out there, Hispanics, that were just camping out forever. So they think that they'll be able to get away with that one this time, and they'd rather go there. Is that what do you think the consensus is?
Well, there really is no consensus right now. It seemed like it was split 50-50 until, right before you called me, I was listening to the guy say that the cops said that they are going to arrest people and that they are going to shut the bathrooms down. And the reason that this park was picked was because there was, enough bathrooms here. It's kind of a big deal when you got several hundred people planning on staying here overnight, that there's going to be some bathrooms.
Oh, okay. Dang.
So I'm not sure what they're going to do. It looks like the General Assembly is kind of over, at least for right now. I'm not sure what they're doing here, but I guess we'll find out later.
Is Drew standing around you?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me go ahead and talk to him before I let you guys go, and then I'll go ahead and show the people the pictures and stuff.
Okay.
Now, I know that we're going to have a lot of good video coming out of this. I have some other pictures. These are pictures of Drew and Nick yesterday. We made all these banners, bandanas, and shirts and so on, and we were passing them out for free hugs. And, Alma, played our hug girl, and Ross was there doing his dime card thing, and we were just having a good time and meeting with. And we know a lot of these people from these various different groups, Code Pink and Occupy and a lot of different groups, and even some Tea Party people kind of showed up and everything. But it was primarily from the left, but it wasn't really super organized. I would say a third of the people were part of this group, or they kind of organized themselves online. But the vast majority of the people were unaffiliated. I got you there, Drew?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, give me your perspective, man. What's going on?
Well, I think Nick pretty much covered the park we're at here now. But earlier today, from noon to 5, they did their march. They were at Cesar Chavez Plaza. Yeah, you're right. I think it was mainly the left, but I did talk to a number of people who were of libertarian persuasion. Wearing capitalist shirts, bureaucrat shirts, Fed shirts. So I think the libertarian right, if I can just call it that for general purposes, was represented somewhat, and again, I don't think anyone was really upset that we brought our message. And like I said, there's quite a bit of End the Fed T-shirts and posters, and I know the Ron Paul group had a lot to do with that. So, there's no clash, there's no conflict. Everybody was perfectly willing to hear each other's grievances and gripes and solutions that they have for these problems. But yeah, it was fairly left dominated, and I did see a number of union people, union signs. But
not
again,
near as many as I thought there would be, though. I mean,
no. Yeah, you're correct. We were reminiscing about the Obama protest when he came to town some 2 years ago, whenever that was, and when they were busing in the SEIU guys from California. We didn't see that, but I did see a lot of union poster boards, banners, and such, and so there was kind of conflict. But yeah, they're having a hard time. They have this emphasis on this direct democracy, consensus, General Assembly, but they're having a hard time. They'll propose something, and everyone might applaud, or the majority might applaud, but no one actually really wants to get up and do it, or so they're having a hard time organizing on the spot. They had their predetermined ideas, and now it's changing, and they're having a hard time because they want to stick together, and maybe rightfully so. There's strength in numbers, but one guy did get up on the mic and said, "I think it's wrong that we're here. We're not being seen. It's not a very high visibility park. I'm going back. If you're with me, let's go." And he literally put down the megaphone and started walking back to the park, and I didn't actually see anyone follow him. So they're having a hard time organizing on the spot, and like Nick said, there are a few people who have a tent already set up, and people we've spoken to have a commitment to occupying and staying here, but I don't see it happening. I see this spinning out, and I see the cops bringing in the force at 11 o'clock, and at least trying to push everybody out, if not arrest them after the fact. But I don't know if Nick and I will stay here till then, but we'll see what happens.
So you're getting and they're making it clear to the people there that if they stay, plan on being arrested.
Oh yes, no, the cops have stated that, and they've repeated that for the General Assembly. A guy got up on the megaphone and reported what he had discussed with, he said, the high-ranking official, Sergeant something. So the cops have made it clear the park does close, and we will arrest you. And like Nick said, there is quite a police presence. As we were driving up, we saw all the SUVs lined up, and like I said, there's flashing lights and some undercovers here parked in the park on the grass. And now as I'm watching where they were just having the General Assembly, it's all shifted over to where these gentlemen has a tent, and there's another person on a megaphone, and he's leading a discussion over there. So it's very sporadic. Things just kind of happen, and whoever's got the charisma to get people's attention is who gets to say what they want to say. And I don't know if they're going to make a decision and leave or not, or I just really don't know at this point.
Did Alma hang out with you guys, or did she go home?
She bailed.
And Ross?
She left after 6. Ross was we went out and had a bite to eat in between these two events, and then we came up here with Ross, and then he's actually left to go on a date or something. But so it's just Nick and I, and like you said, I recognize a lot of other people here, activists from the anti-war left and other groups, and again, everyone has been real open and wants to, is willing to listen to everyone's message. And here, hang on here. What's going on over there? Here, just talk to Nick. Something just happened.
So apparently there's a couple city council members that are on their way down here to negotiate being able to stay in this park.
Oh, well, at least they got city councilmen to give them permission.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's the breaking news from the Screaming Circle.
Wow. This is, all right. Well, I'll give, my spiel. I'll let you guys go and go ahead and share my insights with everybody, what I thought was going on and all that stuff. But thanks for reporting live.
Wait, Ernie,
yeah.
Drew wanted to finish up talking to you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Hey, just one last point. I did capture a lot of interesting video. I interviewed people of all sides and representing different issues and causes and such. And I do hope to have that up by the end of the weekend for this Strike the Root video contest. I think everyone, from the libertarian wing really did a great job of sharing our message and what we think the problems are and what the solutions are. And hopefully with a video for the Strike the Root contest, I can, help amplify those messages and get more people looking at the real issues for what we perceive to be the real issues, the Federal Reserve, et cetera, et cetera. So
vote Drew Phillips. Vote Drew Phillips.
You're a judge, aren't you? But again, I think this is a great success for the rally today. I think everyone got to come down and have their voices heard and vent some frustrations and express themselves. And I don't see this going away. Like you were saying, it's going to drag out. There is a commitment amongst a lot of the activists and organizers and people in those roles that they want to keep organizing and talking about solutions and working out the problems. So I wouldn't be surprised if in next weekend or the weekend after that there's another Occupy event here in Phoenix, and I'm sure the other groups around the country are going to keep on this. So I encourage that. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. And also the thing that struck me the most is the left, I think, maybe they've learned this before, but maybe they learned from the Tea Party. They're not interested in the left co-opting them. They're not interested in MoveOn.org. They're not interested in the unions. This is still a grassroots movement, and we'll see, if they can push off the, those that would want to jump in front of their parade, and just have to see where that goes.
Do you get a sense of who's? Well, I know it's a consensus thing, and there's some people in charge or not in charge, but I didn't really get the impression. I mean, there was a group, there were certain people that were trying to get everybody to agree on whatever, and I talked to some of them, but, you know, is there anyone kind of coming out as a leader to be the first one to get arrested?
Well, yeah, I would say so. The way I look at it is its personalities. Is you have people that are very passionate about what they have to say, and they're able to articulate it, and they're able to get the crowd behind them. So you have these A-type personalities that are really leading the debates or leading the talking points in these circles, you know, where they repeat each word that the speaker says and amplifies the message. So I think they don't want to admit it. I mean, I'm not trying to criticize, but this is a group of individuals, and some individuals stick out, you know, taller than others, and that's who is listened to and you know, repeated literally. And that's, you know, that the person who ends up driving the message is the person who can speak the loudest and the most articulate and get the most support behind him. So that's kind of how this consensus works, in my opinion. Is, you know, follow the leader you want to follow, or do your own thing. But, you know, like I said, there are a number of individuals who you know, are able to articulate and get people riled up and talk about their issues. And I don't agree with a lot of those issues. You know, I've heard way too much about free healthcare today. But again, I'm overall supportive. So you know, like I said, it's just who's got the mic and who's loudest and who can rally the most support for what they want to say.
Yeah, I wore my Revolution Special Agent Not in Charge shirt today on purpose.
Yeah. Well, you still gave the organizers your business card as if you were somebody special.
If I was somebody special.
I'm just teasing, but
well, this is. I'm glad you guys are there, and you kind of got a beat on what's going on. That's kind of what I was afraid of what's going to happen. Hopefully, you guys can share with enough of the people there that, you know, they're being set up, and that there's other creative ways of you know, sticking it back to them. You know, the best thing unless they want to get arrested, is to leave, regroup, and come back with a plan where it's not you're walled in when nobody can see you late at night with no press coverage and a bunch of paddy wagons and some jackbooted thugs that want to really do a number on you. So I'm
well, yeah. Well, my point is, if you go to the Capitol, especially on a weekend, and even if it were a weekday, don't our complaints fall on deaf ears to politicians anyway? I mean, why? You know, why would we go to them to redress our grievances? They don't listen. I agree overall that, like you said, the creativity, get out in the streets, get out in front of the public, talk to your neighbors. That's how you spread movements like that. That's how you spread your message and share your information with others, as you go peer-to-peer, person-to-person, and, you know, sit in front of the Capitol or writing your congressman or sitting in a park that, you know, nobody can see. I don't totally see the value of that. But again, I do see the value of all these people coming together and talking and sharing and trying to move forward on their plans. But yeah, it is petering out. I like I said, if I had to make a prediction, and maybe I hope I'm wrong, I think the majority of people will wander off before 10, and the small crowd that's left. I mean, people are leaving now. It's really starting to dwindle. And by the time it gets to 11 o'clock, there'll be so few people here, they won't see the value in getting arrested. Or maybe somebody really wants to get arrested, but...
Yeah, it always comes down to that one guy, you know. There's you just want to make sure he's videotaped. So I'm...
Right.
Yeah, well, hopefully these guys, we can, you know, maybe we'll participate in some of their other discussions in the future. We got to make friends with these people. They seem nice. They know about us. So maybe we can help them make the point even more, and... you know, and having an impact without, you know, having to put up with being arrested and such. But, you know, and if you're going to get arrested, make it count. And I'm going to be talking about that a little bit here. But, hey, thanks, guys, for reporting, man. It's good intel, and we'll go ahead and I'll get this YouTube up probably before the arrests start, and we'll have to do this next week and get an update.
All right, well, Nick just pulled out the chalk, so we're going to make the sidewalk look prettier, and then we'll see what happens.
All right, man, cool. Thanks for calling, for being on the phone with us. Drew, Phillips, and Nick from Cop Block Podcast, and we have, you know, there's a lot I'll tell you here in just a little bit. Thanks, guys.
Peace.
Okay, that gives you kind of a live update of what's happening right now. Let me go ahead and give you my spiel here. Let's go ahead and go through some of these pictures that I got going up here, and I'll explain some of these to you because they're, they got some impact. Let me go ahead and get this set up. Now, what I wanted to kind of share with you is I took my camera, I got a nice digital camera, and just went around and took some pictures. And of course, there's some in there, that, the American dream has become a nightmare and, just kind of general I'm not happy stuff. But the main thing is that it was very varied. Usually at these kinds of things, all of a sudden you see some union group has the same sign for everybody. There's just, it's just this ocean of whatever. It didn't work out that way this time. It was people just doing what they wanted. And they were chalking, and they had some stairs there that went up to an old courthouse or the old city hall. Now, this is what you're seeing here. It says Phoenix City Hall. This is the old one. They built a new freaking Taj Mahal stainless steel mahogany thing, marble deal. It's across the street. But this is called Cesar Chavez Plaza. And, I should have done a little bit. I meant to do a little more research on him. But as I recall, he was a migrant worker representative union guy back in the 60s, 70s. It was boycott grapes kind of thing. And he was very popular with the immigrants and Hispanic community here. And as a legacy to him, it's kind of like Martin Luther King memorials and that kind of stuff. Anyway, they got a Cesar Chavez Park. Well, here's a civil rights guy, that was honored there, and they're, respect your civil rights right up until they don't want you to. But this park, it's a nice park, and it was sunny today. I bet it was over 100 degrees today. And it was, sunburn on my forehead. So I'm sitting on the ground, putting together some DVD packets and putting QR stickers on, different signs and stuff that we were doing that we just got our QR stickers. Very cool, by the way. And we were sitting there, and for 10 minutes, man, and I already started getting burns on my legs. So I'm going, wow, man, we're freaking summer most places. But it was a nice day. I mean, we're used to 115, so anything down below 106, and we're happy as heck. Now, a lot of these signs are just, the best way that people could manifest their being upset with what was going on. And they, some of them were veterans, like this one. I didn't serve my country just to have it be robbed from within. Then you had some people about healthcare was a common thing. And the average age was, I'd say, the average of America, which is about 37. There was a lot of young people, a lot of older people, a lot of experienced activists, a lot of new people. I was very impressed. I liked the people. It was nice. We had a good time. Everybody was welcome to share whatever they wanted in different places. It was a large park. In some areas, they had some hip-hop artists over there rapping and having some fun. They had other people that were speaking from the microphone. If you wanted to wait in line, you could speak, and you had a lot of people passing out stuff. What our idea is that we were going to make T-shirts, and it was the Stop Wars with Darth Vader wearing Uncle Sam top hat, and it was Stop Wars, and on the back we have a sign that a T-shirt design that we did that is government doesn't work, I want my money back. But it shows a line of government promises going up, a 45-degree angle, and then of course individual liberty and freedom, where are we really at? As time has gone on, it's just kind of, especially since in the last decade, it's just dropped off the map. So there's a gap between the promise and what's delivered. Well, that's the revolution gap. When you get far enough from what the promise is and what's reality, that's when you have revolutions. And man, we got this big gap. So we kind of understand what's going on. Now, this is what I wanted to share with you guys, and we'll just let these scroll for a little bit. I have had discussions with the Phoenix Police Department, Sheriff's Department, everything over the last months and years and whatever. And most recent, I talked to the gentleman that I believe his name is Mark. He is the new head of community relations. They used to call it Confrontation Prevention Squad and all this other stuff. And the gentleman that I usually deal with, he was at some other function. He goes, Ernie, not going to be there. I'm covering some, Hispanic whatever thing. I speak Spanish, and I'm over there. So Al Ramirez was not there. This other guy, and we've met with him before when we did the TSA events at Sky Harbor Airport when we, did our creative stuff there. And we talked to the police, and we made it very clear to them. We had probably 8 to 9 different officers representing at least 4, 5, 6 different departments. The Sky Harbor, liaison to Homeland Security, the, community relations guys, some other people, Lord knows what. And their thing was trying to convince us that you had to get a permit. You got to get a permit to do anything, piece of paper, permit. And I'm like, well, that's not going to happen because I already know where that goes. I know how that works out. So we're just like, nope. Well, finally, the event happened. No big deal, no problem, no muss, no fuss. And it became a lot bigger than they thought. They didn't anticipate it was going to be a national thing like this Occupy movement is. What they are led to believe, there's 2 things that have been happening. From the right, I'm not sure where it's coming from, but the feedback I'm getting, it could be from fusion centers or Department of Homeland Security or whatever, is that Arab Spring is coming to America and it's supported and pushed off, put on by, Islamo-fascist, those that would do harm America, and they're not America. So I can see where this is going. They're trying to trump up some kind of justification for taking a hard line. So I'm going, okay. Well, like Nick said, he goes a little behind the scenes. He said, look, this morning they had a permit till noon from Move On. Well, Move On being, or Move Forward or Lean Forward, whoever the heck they are, the left, and they just, we got the permit. Well, the second that you start getting permits, then you sign a piece of paper agreeing to something. And are you signing it for everybody there? I mean, how does that work? You're taking responsibility? I mean, what? So during the week, I'm talking to the Phoenix Police Department, and I was told that they had a permit that had an expiration of 6 p.m. Well, I'm going, all right, so what happens at 6:01? Well, I don't know. It goes to 6 p.m. And they were schooled. I mean, everyone I talked to when I was there talking to the officers, everything, they all said the same thing, 6 p.m. Well, at 6 p.m., closes at 6 p.m. Well, what happens then? It closes at 6 p.m. What happened? It closes. Okay. All right. So they had a plan. So then I'm going, all right, well, I find out that there is a plan that they had worked when they were negotiating with the police department, the Occupy Phoenix. I guess they were in touch with these people. And they said, look, we're going to go ahead and leave at 5 o'clock and go to another park where we'll stay. The Phoenix Police Department convinced them that if they left at 5, put them up at another park called Hance Park. Now, Mayor Hance, she was a mayor in the early 90s, I think, or something, they each got a park named after her. So anyway, it's a nice park. Now, there is a freeway that runs in the middle of Phoenix called the Papago that goes underground. And it used to be a street in the middle of Phoenix. So they decided to build a park on top of it and make it a tunnel and everything because they made a bunch more money, and I don't know, they build underground bases or something. Who knows? So what happens is you got this big, giant, park on top of this, 12-lane wide highway with all the, ancillary stuff on the side and middle and everything. It's supposed to have trains that went in the middle and all this other stuff. So it's a large area in the middle of town. But it's fenced. So you have it to where you don't go off the edge and, jump on the freeway. So they got it fenced there. They got it fenced at the other end. They got another fence, and then it's a residential area on the north side. So this large park has, bathrooms and so on, and lots of grass. And this time of year, even mid-October, heck, we hadn't even got, under 90 degrees yet. So we got nice, full grass out there. It's all water, and it's party. So they're going, we got bathrooms and so on. We'll go up to Hance Park. So they escorted them. That was the deal. The Phoenix police are going to escort you because we love you so much. Sound like Brooklyn Bridge thing. I could feel it coming. So they escort them away from downtown Phoenix. Man, they do not want to have these guys causing this New York City problem thing. And around the country, they're, really making a big push on this, man. You don't want them downtown. Well, we made the deal with the Phoenix. I said, look, if the issue the city council and everything, if this issue is all about they're dirty or they didn't pick up, we'll go around, show up our pickup truck, and we'll just make a thing out of Freedom's Phoenix. Heck, libertarians, revolutionaries, Ron Paul supporters, Gary Johnson guys, whatever, all show responsibility, and we'll pick up the trash. We'll get them. They're just looking for somewhere to throw it. I mean, they're not just being messy. So fortunately, people brought a bunch of trash bags. So they were picking up after themselves. Before I left even, I left probably like 4:30 or something like that. And they had already picked up everything. So that was not a problem. That's not an issue. That's not their reasoning. The reason is they don't want people downtown when businesses open again and across from City Hall. It will turn into a thing, and they know it. And they learned this. If you don't squash this in the beginning, they will be there forever, and it will grow, especially when nobody has a job and nothing else to do, and they can express themselves. So I'm going, okay. Oh, yeah, this sign, Obama and Bush are war criminals. That was done by Ryan, one of the activists here. Now, you see he's wearing a sidearm. That's another issue. You'll see he's on the sidewalk there. They said he could go on the sidewalk. Here in Arizona, you don't have to have a permit or anything to carry a firearm concealed or open. Well, what happened is that in the mid-'90s, and this is how I knew a lot of these guys, it was from these activities that I got to know the police and had a decent relationship with them, and in fact, some of the same people until they changed some of them, was that we were like, look, the signs on the park said, no firearms allowed. And we were having a lot of problems. There were people that were complaining. They're taking their kids, to the park. And then, the gangbangers come at when the sun starts to go down playing basketball, and they're gunned up and they're disarmed, and they complain, and the cops don't do anything, and they won't let them protect themselves and have signs saying you can't bring guns and all that kind of stuff. But we knew what the law actually said. It said no discharge of firearms. So we're going, okay. So what we did is I brought this up for you to see this. I talked to them, and they said, no, you can't go on the grass. You can't go in the park with your firearm. So a lot of these guys, they're, well, really? And they go, yep, on there. So I'm going, I don't think it says that. So I asked for clarification. Where'd you get this? So the officers said that they were told in prep that, all right, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, no guns in the park, they can be on the sidewalk, can't go in there, Because why? Because we said. Okay, fine, good enough for them. Well, the law right here, it says discharge of firearms, okay? You are guilty if you have a discharge of firearm. Now, they said the classification, the charge is, you get charged with the discharge of a firearm in a park, except when you're defending yourself, you're defending this, you got blah, 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 you have a special permit, yada, 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 it goes on. But bringing a firearm into a park is not against the law or the ordinance. It can't because of Arizona state law. It's called state preemption. And, because you can't have different laws in every little town that you go to. So I'm going, I already knew this. I was like, I don't know how you're getting around this, because they can't. Just because they want to. And they go, well, nope, can't. This is not the time to be discussing this, Ernie. We don't want to discuss this now. It's not the time. And I'm like, this is the perfect time. This is when you discuss this stuff. Because what was going on. Let me go ahead and get to some of the pictures here for those that are watching the stream, the YouTube. What happened was there is a gentleman. His name is J.T. Reddy. Now, J.T. is a militia type. He's, a white supremacist. He's been, here's pictures of us painting the RV, and taped it up, painted it. Now it's all gray. We're getting ready to. So when we go to these kind of functions like this, and the primer's all done, now we're going to logo it and paint it the colors we want and everything. And when we go down there, we'll have our own little RV, and we do goat and chicken saying hello. We love your RV. Now, what we did is we go down there, and there was a militia unit, guys that Arizona Defense League, De La, whatever the heck it is, and they have new laws that they're working on here to give the governor someone other than the National Guard, or State Guard, which got taken by the Federals. And, so this is all a big thing. Well, there's some of these people that really, really, really They love their guns and they want to go down to the border and defend it against the Mexicans and all this kind of stuff. And this guy, JT Reddy, is part of this group or leader of it or something. And, man, they were gunned up. And you look at the pictures here, their tactical gear, man, they had it all going on. They were armed to the teeth. They had sidearms, some on both legs. They had the sniper guy, the squad automatic weapon-looking guy. They had the AR-15s or M16s or whatever they were. Some of these guys got Class 3 licenses and so on. Now, they're there to show, we're whatever. Now, I didn't really care. I felt kind of safer having, a bunch of guys with a bunch of guns that weren't the cops. So I'm just, what? It just keeps everybody more polite. But the point is that I'm going, okay, I can see they want, nope, you got to be on the sidewalk. Well, all the more reason for people that would be concerned and minorities and so on that might feel threatened by these guys to have their own firearms in the park. That all the more reason. So I'm just, I really don't see the justification for disarming the people. Now you can see here's a good picture. What's behind them here, this is Phoenix City Hall. This is Phoenix Sun right there. This is the new City Hall. And I mean, that thing is Taj Mahal. And it's a whole nother story. Now, what these guys are doing, we want to go, get the bad guys or something. So, of course, it kind of amped up the pressure on the atmosphere a little bit for most people didn't care. It was like, yeah, whatever. And after a while, they just left because look at how they're dressed, man. They were just too freaking hot. I guarantee it. I was amazed that they lasted as long as they did. It was at least an hour or so. So they go. People start milling around. They start talking. I start making the point to some of the detectives there that I know, and I'm like, did you guys change the law or something? Is it, we can't defend ourselves inside the park? Or are you guys just doing this again 15 years later after we thought we got this taken care of? You're just making it up as you go along. You're just making it up again. That's the whole reason why we all took our guns to one of the big parks here and had the press come and we're playing Frisbee and our kids and all this kind of stuff. And they did nothing but, protect our right to do it because they knew the law was a lie. Or what they said on the park signs. Well, now those park signs don't say that. But now they're just making it up again, I think. And that's what the ordinances say. So we got to make a big issue out of this. I mean, because yes, now it is the most important time. As tensions start to, I'm not worried about these people. Heck, I'm not even worried about the white supremacist National Socialist people. I'm worried about, just being a victim. That's what I'm worried about. So I got the impression when I was talking to the detectives that, and I go, when they go to the new park, then what happens? 10 o'clock, get arrested. Close it down, done, arrested. And he goes, well, it might be 11. Well, is it 10, 11? What is it? So I guess it's 10:30. They shut the bathrooms down. 11 o'clock, everybody be out getting the paddy wagon. So I could see what was going on. I think they're starting to realize it too. They've been snookered. They've been corralled into a small area. When it hits time, the stroke of, they're not going to be able to leave. They're going to go in big show of force and thou shalt not pass. Okay. They're going to try and push them down to the state building, the Wesley Bowen Plaza, which is down at the Capitol. Or are they going to get them there too? I doubt they'll be able to get them at the Capitol since they allowed the Hispanics and other people that was against the SB 1070 immigration law that Russell Pierce and JT Reddy, these guys are all in on that. So I'm going, all right. So now they're talking about going back down to the park. They're talking about going down to across from City Hall there, and we'll see what happens. So what did Nick say? He said, well, there's some city councilmen that are sitting there negotiating. He didn't say who, I don't know, but let me tell you who I think it is. One of them will be Sal DeCiccio. Now, Sal DeCiccio is District 6. I'm not even sure what part of the valley is, don't care. But I know his chief of staff. His name's Hal DeKaiser, and he used to be editorial page editor of the East Valley Tribune here, which is one of the big papers in the East Valley, before he became his chief of staff. I talked to him this week, and I go, I know what they're going to plan to do. If they start doing arrests, and they start going through this kind of thing, I'm telling you, man, I'm not going to be able to help you. He goes, I remember back when he was in college, and I think he said he went to ASU, Arizona State University. that there was a big protest and so on, or he was covering it or whatever it was. And he said there was a big thing. They were going to take down the flag and do something to it or whatever. And the campus head of police or the police chief in that city or whatever it was, I can't remember when he's telling me the story, but he said he just took the flag down, folded it up, and took it off with him. Problem solved. They just didn't make a big giant jackboot thing out of it. They just played Andy Griffin. So I'm going, all right, cool. At least he understands what's going on. So when I talked to, I said they had a city council meeting that night. It was Tuesday, I think it was. I talked to him. So they were going, all right, we're going to talk about it. So I guess it's gotten to where now they're seeing, this big giant force of and all the SUVs and the paddy wagons and everything. They might still have some people get arrested. Good for YouTube. And that's all I kept saying. I go, we'll be here for the YouTube. Yep, YouTube. It's all good, YouTube. Now, one of the pictures in here, I'll show you, Black Chris, the guy with the AR-15 when Obama came and everything. Because he always has his gun with him wherever he goes. And here, I guess he didn't have it, or at least not where they could see it. And I'll scroll to it here. Because what happened right before we were leaving, we went down, and right by where we were standing were a bunch of officers. And Chris was there with a sign that said, now this picture is of Sarah and Kyle from OccupyPhoenix.net. They're the ones that were running this. Very nice people, very reasonable. They just wanted to make sure everybody had a voice and so on. And this was some of the rapping that was going on there and such. And we had a revolution sign. One of the guys, he really liked that. Now, what Chris did, he was holding a sign. Here, it says, "Should we liquidate the police?" So there he's standing there holding this, and I was going to take his picture. Well, the officer standing next to him pushed him over and said, "You got to be at least 5 feet away from me. And don't be putting me in that picture, taking a picture." And all I said was, "Man, don't even start with me. I mean, seriously, you want to go down this road? Whatever." So then I said, "Chris, move up. Stay 5 feet away from him, but come up in line with him so I can get him more, behind you." Well, then they all turned around. They're like, nope, don't want to do it. Okay. So this is kind of the attitude. I mean, I guess I can understand they don't want to have their picture taken with, Chris, but it was just, they were not happy. I mean, everybody was nice to them, there was no problems. They didn't know. I was talking to a lot of officers. I'm like, "Why are you guys wearing long sleeves?" Well, today, this is the uniform they wanted us to wear today, our long sleeve black crap going on, so we grab our shield or, because they wanted to be able to cover themselves quickly when they started issuing out and putting on all their crap, So if they needed to get in the riot gear, it was handy dandy, I'm sure. There was a lot of press there. You can see the television camera trucks in the back. There's 3 networks right there. So it was covered well. But I know what they're going to do. They're going to show you, the pictures of, whatever, none of the, free market Federal Reserve stuff, in the Fed and such like that. Now this one, they only call it class warfare when we fight back. That was appropriate. So that kind of gives you an idea of what it looked like and what was going on. My concern is that I could see what was happening. These people were being played. You have this other organization gets a permit from 8 till noon, so they had a piece of paper to go by some rule. Somebody signed something. They got to have some kind of permit of something. So then in the afternoon, it's noon to 6, and then they're going, "Well, we're going to be here at 5, and then we'll leave, and you'll escort us up to the other park." Yeah, thank you. That's very nice of you. And and these are very trusting, very nice people. They just wanted to be able to express themselves. They wanted to make sure that they're cleaned up. They had whole crews that were in charge of water. They go around giving everybody water. They had trash bags that are going around picking up everything. They even had food there. They were taking donations or not. They didn't care. It was very well done. It's just the only way you can get this kind of stuff is by not trying to organize it too much. And, a lot of different groups that we've worked with over the years, since 9/11, certainly, in the wars and so on. So they really appreciated our stop wars, and they certainly understood government doesn't work. I want my money back, a little anarchist A in there. So we got to express ourselves, share with everybody. A lot of things got passed out. Like we had some cards that had, this is some of the, I like their logo here. It's a peace symbol with a yellow ribbon on it. This is from Military Families Speak Out. They had some flyers for Ron Paul. They have the Rock the Revolution tour is coming here. We've been promoting that on the site and so on, and it's got a lot of cool stuff. So they were passing out cards there. You know, a lot of people are appreciative of that, talking about, you know, we're going to have a concert and so on. So everybody got to give out what they wanted. I am concerned that when this does amp up, which it will, I mean, you know, they're shocked that this happened and is getting as big as it is. They didn't see this coming. And weeks ago when I met with them before and told them, look, they go, how are you so sure? How do you know? Because the Fed and the Federal Reserve guaranteed it. You know, what do you think the Arab Spring was about? It was about people being without work and going hungry. You know, you hear on Fox News them screaming about all these people that are just the unwashed. You know, they're out there, they don't have a job, nothing else to do. Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. So I wanted to do this, so you got to get flavor of this, that it was peaceful, that there was no problem, and that I feel the forces of coming down, they are going to make whatever decision to make this happen. And I think that's why the city councilmen are starting to get involved. And Sal may be going down there saying, yeah, you know, maybe we negotiate something. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can't. But we're going to try and keep it peaceful. I was kind of upset with these guys. All right, we don't want to talk about it. Now's not the time. All right, well, I guess Monday's the time. I'll be calling the city council. We'll see what happens this weekend. I'll go, and, you know, I mean, seriously, because we did this 15 years ago. We got to show up, everybody with guns out, you know, getting all, you know, anal about it, standing in the park and just to, you know, make you arrest us so we can test whether the law that you made up in your head, you can enforce it somehow. You know, I just, can we get past that? You know, can we not? But it's very important. You have to exercise these rights, because when it gets the worst is when you need them the most. Duh. So that's where we're at. You know as much as me now. So, you know, I'm hopeful that Drew and Nick don't get arrested. They can get some good video. They have some good story, and we'll add to it this next week. And we're going to be producing a lot more shirts and everything. And we're leaving Wednesday night, early Thursday morning to go to San Diego for Libertopia, and we need to replenish all the shirts that we gave away. And so we're going to have some fun then, and we'll have a lot to talk about. But I think this went great. I think the people very well behaved. They really took care of the place, and they were all kind and respectful to everybody, including the government and the police. And I think they're going to trick them, and they're going to eliminate whatever trust that they built up. And if they do this and they go hardcore on these people, it's going to backfire in ways that none of us could even imagine, just in credibility. Because the one thing that I know for sure is these officers depend on a pension that is gone. It's not, especially here in Arizona. And what they're going to do is they're going to have to increase law enforcement, write more tickets, tax the people more, do whatever to try and, you know, refund that, do whatever on the backs of the people, and they got the guns. And when that gets to where, nope, we're not playing anymore, we're not going to be on their side anymore, and what are they going to do? They're not thinking into the future. I tell you how they're thinking. They're thinking, we got the guns, and we are the police, and we are the government, and we can make you do whatever. And, you know, they're right up until they're not. That's my opinion. Anyway, so here you just got an idea of what was going on, and I just wanted to make sure you guys got to see some of the pictures and that we had some fun. We met a lot of new people, and we really like, this is Nick's design. He made this in a big sign. And matter of fact, he had it at Libertopia last year, and we wanted to make a shirt out of it. So we did, but it was peaceful. We had a good time, and hopefully nobody dies. That was my concern. I just didn't want this to get out of hand. So as much of a butthead as I was at different times to the officers, talking to them and trying to be, you know, forceful and look, you guys don't understand. All that was kind of, look, man, do not push this further than as far as you think you can. I mean, don't. It wouldn't be prudent at this juncture or any other, in my opinion. Thanks for tuning in. You know, hopefully you learned a little bit. Sorry it went a little long, but I just wanted to make sure you got everything, and we got it within an hour.